Well, people, guess what? I'm back. Today we're going to talk about distributing and like terms. We're going to use negatives and we're going to use fractions. So whether you look in the mirror or not, you ought to be able to figure these out and simplify them, okay? So we're going to go ahead and review a couple things here while the song plays in the background. If you can send me the name of the song and the artist, feel free to do so. So let's just talk a little bit about if we've got something like this. Let's say we've got -7 on the outside of n minus 9. Alright, just remember that on that particular one, there's a subtraction sign in there. So I want to take and make that a plus negative. And then of course I'm going to distribute the -7 to the n. I'm going to distribute the -7 to the -9. So -7 times n plus -7 times 9. What's -7 times n? That would be -7n. What's -7 times? That's a -9. So what's a negative times a negative? And negative times a negative is a positive. And so there you would be if you simplify that down to -7n plus 63. Alright, we'll get back to that in a little bit, okay? So remember, if you have a subtract sign, you want to do additive inverse to that. -7 times n is -7n. -7 times -9, a negative times a negative is a positive, and that would give you 63. Okay, so that's just a little review of what we've been doing there with distributing and with negatives. Don't forget, if it has no number in front of it, like that one right there, that has no number in front of it. It really could have a 1 in front of it if you wanted to, and of course -7 times 1 would still be -7, but you know, if it doesn't have a number, feel free to put the 1 in front of it. Okay, all right, now let's go down to one of these that might have some fractions involved. Oh, all right, let's say we'll do one with all positives to start with. All right, we'll make it easy. Let's say we got a half out here, and then we got 12x plus 30. All right, so we're doing half of 12x and half of 30. So what is half of 12x and what is half of 30? Well, what is half of 12? Half of 12, of course, would be 6. So that's 6x. Okay, just going to copy down the plus sign from here. What's half of 30? That'd be 15, right? So that would simplify down to 6x plus 15. Okay, half of 12 is 6. Half of 30 is 15. So that would be 6x plus 15 again. You can't put those together because this don't have the x term on the end, right? This is a constant, and this, of course, is just your like term. If we had another one with x somewhere, we could add them together. All right, let's make it a little harder than that. You ready? So let's take it up to this one. Let's say we've got a negative fraction out here. Let's say we got -1/7. And then in the inside, we got -63n minus 49y. Alright, so we're going to turn up the heat on this one a little bit, boys and girls. Alright, so first thing I see is that's a negative, that's a negative. Hey, there's a subtract sign there, okay? So on that subtract sign, I'm going to do additive inverse. Additive inverse on the subtract signs. So don't forget that. Alright, so now I'm doing -1/7 times -63n. And I'm going to do -1/7 times -49y. So I'm just going to ask you, what's a negative times a negative? And over here, what's a negative times a negative? Alright, so let's go ahead and draw our little arrows out. I'm doing it to there, and I'm doing it to there. Okay, so I'm doing -1/7 times -63n plus -1/7 times -49y. So what's a negative times a negative? That there is a positive. What's 63 divided by 7? Again, that'd be put over a whole number. So that would be positive 9n. Alright, same thing over here. You can put the 49 over 1 because it's a whole number. So a negative times a negative is a what? A positive. So don't forget that. Negative times negative equals a positive. So make sure you got that under control. Negative times a negative is a positive. And then it would be 49 divided by 7, which of course would be 7. And just don't forget about sticking that y on the end. Can I combine them together? I hope you're telling me no, because you cannot put the n's with the y's, because they are not like terms. They are unlike terms. Okay, so you cannot put that together and tell me that's 16ny. That don't work. All right, so 9n plus 7y. Negative times negative is a positive. Negative times negative is a positive. All right, let's take a little pause right here for today's riddle. Are you ready? Aim, fire! All right, hard one today. I don't know if you'll be able to get it or not. Which month has 28 days in it? Which month has 28 days in it? So make sure you email me that answer if you want a little extra credit on some of this stuff. Just make sure you send it to Reid@davidson.k12.nc.us. And make sure you tell me which month has 28 days in it. Okie dokie. All right. Let's roll on to the next one. Let's make it a little bit harder now. So at the moment, of course, we've talked about if it's got a subtract sign in it, you want to use additive inverse. And if you've got a negative times a negative, it's a positive. So let's take a look at one that may be just a little more complex and tax your brain just a little bit harder. All right, let's go to one that's got double in it. You ready? So we'll do one that's like this to start with. Let's put a -6 out here, and then x plus 9 plus, let's go 1/6, and then we'll do 12x minus 40 and 2. All right, so you go ahead and write that down. I'll say it again one more time. So I got -6 on the outside of x plus 9 plus 1/6 on the outside of 12x minus 42. So when I look at that problem, my good young smart friends, I'm looking for subtraction signs. Do we see any subtraction signs over here? That would be a no. Do I see any subtraction signs over here? And that would be a yes. So right here, I'm going to come here and I'm going to do additive inverse to this. Okay, so it's going to make that a plus, and then that 42 is of course going to be -42. So let's go through now, since we've checked for all our additive inverse stuff, and we're going to do distributive property one little step at a time. So we got -6 times x, and we're going to do -6 times 9. What is -6 times x, and what is -6 times 9? Okay, what's -6 times x, folks? That would be -6x. I hope you're telling me. What's -6 times 9? Well, a negative times a positive is a negative. And what is 6 times 9? And I hope you're not using your fingers, Jethro. It's -54. All right, so we got that side done. -6 times x is -6x. -6 times 9 is -54. I'm just going to copy down that plus symbol right there. Now I'm going to distribute to 1/6. 1/6 of 12x and 1/6 of -42. All right, so that would be 1/6 times 12 over 1x plus 1/6 times -42 over 1. Okay, so you can see what I got written there. So how many times will 6 go into 12 here? Basically it's 1/6 of 12, so basically the problem is just 12 divided by 6. What is 12 divided by 6? That would be 2x. Okay, again, that's just a positive times a positive is a positive, so that'd be 2x for that. Now here I've got a positive times a negative. What's a positive times a negative? Well, we just did a positive times a negative over here, and we got -54. So a positive times a negative over here is going to be a negative as well. And basically you're doing 42 divided by 6. And what's 42 divided by 6? Jethro, don't pull out your fingers. 42 divided by 6 is -7. Okay, now I've used a distributive property, and I've got things where I can actually combine some like terms now. So I'm going to go back to my circles and squares. So I'm going to circle my like terms. That's -6 and a positive 2x. So I'm going to put them together. -6 plus 2x. Now, when you add them and they've got different signs, that's really the only time you subtract them. And make sure you take the sign of the bigger number. So what's 6 minus 2? That would be 4x. And don't forget to take the sign of the bigger one. 6 is definitely bigger than 2, so that's -4x. Over here, I'm going to put some constants together. All right, my constants are -54 and -7. So So if I add up negative 54 and negative 7, how much is negative 54 and negative 7? So since they're the same sign, you're going to add them together, just like you would if they were positive numbers, and that'll give you negative 60 and 1. And that is just all you can do to simplify that expression, is take it down to that right there. Negative 4x plus negative 61. Alright, so this one only had one fraction in it. I think before we finish up today, I ought to do one that's got 2 fractions in it. But I need to get another sheet of paper so y'all can finish copying that down, and hold on 1 second. Alright. All good now? Let's try number 5. Last one. Oh gosh, mine. Knocking my stuff all over the place. Got all excited getting up that sheet of paper. Woo! Alright. So let's try one that's got a couple of fractions in it here. You ready? That's about as hard as it's going to get. Alright, let's do negative 1/3 of 15x plus 21y minus 1/5. And let's do 15x over here minus 45y. Ooh, doggies. Alright, get all that down. I'll read it to you one more time while you write it all down before we start tackling that thing. That's negative 1/3, and then in parentheses you got 15x plus 21y minus the 1/5, and then in parentheses you got 15x minus 45y. Alright, Jethro, do you see any subtraction signs in there, son? Yes. Alright. Are there any subtract signs over here on this side? No, sir. Do we see subtract sign here? Yep. Do we see subtract sign here? Yep. So right there we're going to do additive inverse to that and that. Okay? So that becomes a plus negative, and that there becomes a plus negative. You ready? I'm ready. So I'm doing negative 1/3 times 15x. Write it right here. Negative
1/3 times 15x plus negative 1/3 times 21y.
Okay. Again, these are both whole numbers, so I can put them over 1. What's a negative times a positive? Well, that's going to be a negative. Basically, it's 15 divided by 3. And what's 15 divided by 3? That'd be negative 5x plus. Okay, just copying down the plus sign. Copy down the plus sign. Negative times a positive is a negative. And then 21 divided by 3 is 7y. So over here on the left side, I got negative 5y plus negative 7y. Again, negative times a positive is a negative. A negative times a positive is a negative. Don't forget to put the x and the y on the end of them. Okay, that's where some of you people might mess up. Don't forget about them variables, x and y. All right, now we're going to come over here to this side. Negative 1/5 times 15x and negative 1/5 times negative 45y. I'll write them right here. Negative 1/5 times 15x plus negative 1/5 times negative 45y. Scoop that over so you can see it a little bit better. Alright. Now, again, these are whole numbers, so you can put them over 1 if you want to, if that makes you feel better. If it don't, you can put it over 1 anyway. What is a negative times a positive? Of course, that's going to be a negative. And then basically it's 15 divided by 5, which is 3x. I just copied down my plus sign from up there. Alright. Now, plus, what's a negative? Oh, what's a negative times a negative? It's a curveball. What's a negative times a negative? That's positive, right? And 45 divided by 5. 45 divided by 5 is 9. And don't forget to stick your y on the end of that. Hey, negative times negative is a positive. 45 divided by 5 is 9. And just bring down the y. Alright, almost home free. We've done all the distributive property stuff. We've multiplied all those fractions and divided everything out. And now we're ready to combine some like terms. And here we go. Negative 5x plus negative 3x, if you put those together. Negative 5x plus negative 3x is negative 8x. And then I'm going to put together my y's. I got negative 7y and positive 9y. And again, like we've talked about, this is really the only time you subtract, because they've got different signs. And so you're just doing 9y minus 7y, which gives you 2y. Alright. So there you go. You can't put them together because they don't have the same variable. So I hope you're doing alright. Hope you're feeling good. Hope everybody at your house doing alright. If you got any questions, don't forget to email me and let me know. You can also email me the man that's singing this song and tell me the name of the song that he's singing about. Hopefully you look better than he did when you looked in that thing. He got rougher and rougher. I'll talk to you soon. Sayonara. Till tomorrow. Peace.